Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is 8-Bit Ray from the Gorilla Brain Podcast, part of the Pulse Podcast Network. Did you know that you could be using this spot to advertise your company or business? Well, I've done the research, and podcastinsights.com report that podcast listeners are loyal, affluent, and mostly college educated. But most importantly, are 5 times more likely to interact with the ad they hear on their favorite podcast than an ad from any other medium. If you would like to advertise your company or brand with our network, it's simple. All you have to do is send an email to marketing@pulsepodcastnetwork.com. I'll say it one more time. marketing@pulsepodcastnetwork.com. And we hope to hear from you soon.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people. Right. You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese and France, Mickey. What? Boy, ale with cheese. Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And hold on a second, I got to prime the pump. Okay, and this is John.
I wish I could belch on call, JD.
See, this is why I ask you already before we start.
Well, I got to make sure that I am ready as close to when I will be talking as possible, because as I proved last week, I do not do well when I am sober.
Wait.
So I've got a backup shot here.
Wait, that was sober, John?
Look, let's just keep that on the down low, all right? It's because I don't want that getting out.
All right. So, people may have noticed we're recording this a day later, so it's going to probably go up later than normal.
They wouldn't have noticed until you just said it.
Well, I'm not just I had family obligations and JD had things to do, so
You're making excuses for things you didn't have to make excuses for because they're hearing this on the same day they normally do.
Might not be. He said it might take an extra day.
Exactly. If I don't put it up till Thursday and they normally listen on Wednesday.
Gasp.
People listening are like, I know what day it is because it's the day I'm listening. So
that's going to inconvenience at least 12 people, Dave.
Exactly. A dozen people can easily trample you.
Maybe you.
Oh, yes, I'm not a big bad wrestler.
Yeah.
This is true. I'll hide behind JD if that ever happens.
I bite.
Oh, professional wrestling it is then.
No, I just fight dirty.
So how are you guys doing? How are you, John? What's new with you?
Not much. I finally finished. I finally finished a bunch of anime that I've been working through, which is kind of sad because I'm actually starting to run out of stuff to look at.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll continue that later.
Okay.
Since he doesn't pay attention to our Slack chat, he'll be surprised.
Yeah,
but pleasantly.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That'll be a break from normal. So yeah, just one more time, I'm going to mention Thunderbolt Fantasy because puppetry. For some reason, they do a better job than most animated series. You have to see it to believe it. That's all I can say. Otherwise, I've got this extra shot here just in case I start tripping over my tongue again. But I am going to say one more time whether or not you're hearing this on Wednesday or Thursday, go to sourcepointpress.com. Go check out the Kickstarter for the Hope comic by Kaylin Smith and Dirk Manning.
Yes, and Dirk announced that they started their Hope Springs Eternal tour. They'll be doing a bunch of local cons over the next couple of months to support the Kickstarter.
Yeah. And then the day after, or 2 days after, depending on whether you're hearing on this Wednesday or Thursday, go to Patreons and look for Silver Tales, LES, and look for her Kickstarter, Kit Steele, about the Tea Dragons for a book, basically a tabletop book with all these, 31 Tea Dragons and other assorted paintings.
So this will be like a coffee table book.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a coffee table book, but she's putting a lot into it, and I think she's putting the recipe for all the different teas that she brewed when she used them to color the backgrounds of every one of these Tea Dragons.
Now I have a very important question.
Yes?
If you don't have a coffee table, does it turn into a coffee table?
No, it turns into a tea table.
Oh, damn it!
See, the alcohol is working. I'm telling you, I cannot do this without being drunk. I'm sorry. Kids, drink responsibly. Unless you're on a podcast, then drink horribly.
The more you know.
Well, the more they drink, the less they know. So, all kind of balances out. So now that I've stolen something from JD, go ahead, JD.
Nothing matters anymore. I can't even make the stupid jokes. Damn it. No, I'm good over here, man. So I have an idea. I'll wait till we massage into the show. I don't want to commandeer the show, but I have an idea. Stay tuned.
Oh, okay. So you spent all week coming up with an idea.
No, I spent lunch.
Oh,
The whole thing hit me during lunch today. Like when I just started, we have a Slack channel or a Slack chat, and I regurgitated an idea that hit me while I was eating shawarma and rice at the Noff Noff Grill.
The best ideas do come from shawarma.
And for those who are interested, since you mentioned Slack, they can sign up and join at there's a link at superheroespeak.com on our social media links to sign up and be part of the conversation. So,
we also have a Patreon.
Yes, we do. Patreon.
That we're not very good at plugging.
/superheroespeak. Yes, we're not. We should get better at that. One day.
Yeah. And actually, because JD mentioned it, I do have another topic that we can add to this that we can talk to later on.
Okay, then.
Sweet.
I actually have a little bit of exciting news for the podcast.
No one cares, Dave. I mean, go ahead.
I care.
Oh.
This week, we will have our first official correspondent.
Ooh.
Reporting for us from C2E2 this year. For those who follow us on the website, they noticed that we have Jesse, who's been writing a lot of reviews on the website. He lives in the Chicago area, and he said, "Hey, can I apply for press passes for C2E2?" And I said, "Why not?" And he got in. So C2E2 is run by Reed, who are the same company that does New York. So, John, you know all the stuff that he's getting bombarded with at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. What is it, Milani? That guy? Or I forget the name of the guy. Just all the emails of, you got 5 seconds to sign up for this table talk and this presser. And oh, boy. It's good, though. It's good stuff.
Yeah, so he's actually going to go, he's more interested in a lot of the panels. So he's going to look for announcements and stuff, and he's going to do a big write-up on them afterwards. And he's going to come on the show for the first time when he gets back from C2E2 to talk about the show. So we're looking forward to that. It should be exciting.
Oh, well, along those lines, I'm going to AwesomeCon this year. Just put in for the press passes. So if I get press passes, that should be good. And I'll be doing some reporting from AwesomeCon.
Thanks for inviting me, John.
Well, it wouldn't be a very awesome con if you were there.
Oh,
This is what I'm relegated to this week. Stupid jokes. That's all I got.
Well, you're good at it, so cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's in addition to all the other places that we're going.
Yes. Yeah, we're getting ready for a very busy con season again this year. And
Get a flu shot.
Yes. We also are waiting on response for Philly Podcast Festival this year, so yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. But yeah, I was excited about the C2E2 thing, so which I made an announcement on Twitter the other day. And speaking of Twitter, let's get into a little social media madness. Woo! This topic, I was shocked on the number of responses we got. And that, of course, was the deceased. DC's announcement that they're going to be doing a zombie book. And Andre Array had said that Blackest Night did it better and with awesome art to boot.
Huh.
Awesome Ethan Van Sciver art.
Yes, and then JD
had to correct him because it wasn't Ethan Van Sciver, it was Ivan Rice.
Yes, it was Ivan Rice. Ethan did a couple alternate covers for it, and Andre, if you feel a little harassed by JD, just send all your hate mail to JD@superheroespeak.com.
I sent him a Groot gift. Baby Groot. No one could be harassed by Baby Groot.
Oh, yes.
He's adorable.
He's too cute.
Oh, a variant cover. Oh.
Variant, yeah.
He's adorable.
Yes, he is. We also had the DM behind the screen chime in with This Makes Me Believe when we got together to see what their best story ideas were. The one that came out on top is, we could do a zombie thing, right? People still like zombies, right?
In most anime series, this would be called filler. I mean, seriously, it's like when you run out of ideas, let's jump on the zombie bandwagon.
Yes. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's easy. They'll get quite a few issues out of it, but in the end, it won't be like a really interesting story. It'll just be, hey, they're going after zombies now.
I don't know. It's an alternate universe thing, so they're doing DC's kind of embracing the Elseworlds thing, so you actually have some leeway to actually do some stuff. And it's all right. I'm going to be this guy this week. Like Tom Taylor did some cool things with Injustice and out of continuity DC stories. The same writer, and he pitched this thing. This wasn't some editorially mandated, we're going to do zombies this week. Tom Taylor came in and said, I have a story. So, I mean, far be it from comic fans to be overly jaded before something comes out. Lord knows that's not in our character types whatsoever.
What?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Maybe.
Wait, what?
I will drink to that.
Are you going to be okay this week?
Gateway Comics said that they were over the whole zombie apocalypse thing a long time ago.
This is what I said.
Origami Guru, another great, and he's at the Tech Rebel, but another great Twitter name. This is going to be one of the best Elseworld stories out there. I'm still not over what they did to us in Injustice.
See, I like this. A guy with a positive attitude on something.
Yes.
Thank you, or Guru.
Guru. Heroes Punching 2019 had said, the public interest for zombies seems pretty nearly dead to me. Get it? Get it? Dead?
Sorry.
It's like seeing a friend trying to bring JNCOS. I don't even know what that is.
Jinko. Those were pants from when I was in high school. They were really, really thick pants, like wide, like super wide legged pants, and you sagged them down to like your butt area.
Wait a minute. Are you talking like parachute pants almost?
No. Parachute pants were later. Jinkos were jeans.
Oh.
Like it was a late 90s, early 2000s thing. From our pro wrestling fans out there, it's what the Hardy Boys were early in their careers. Those were Jinko jeans.
Jeez.
This is when I was in high school. Like I knew dudes that I didn't wear them, but I knew dudes that wore Jinkos. and made fun of him.
The Gorilla Brain podcast gave us a gif of Paul Rudd going, "Nyeh."
I believe it's a clueless Paul Rudd, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. And Rob Foster, another one of our repeat offenders, said, "Too late. It is now the heroes and their friends deal. Too late. It is now the heroes and their friends deal with the zombies, or is it just a reburp of Marvel zombies?" Which made no sense and was horrible in my honest opinion.
I don't know. How did the Marvel zombies do? Again, not a Marvel guy, so.
It was one of those things like, it kind of started out as a cool concept and then they went way over the top with it. And, Hulk zombie just basically kills everyone.
They jumped the undead shark, huh?
Uh-huh.
Robert Kirkman wrote it.
Yes. Some Bat guy asked, "Have you not read Blackest Night?" Which I had to respond to, "This is different. We talk about that on the show." And he said he would have to listen later, though. So.
Lol. I hope he did listen.
I hope he did, too.
If he didn't, some Bat guy. Come on.
All right. That's what everyone had to say about Deceased. This one was interesting just because, we talked about the end game being 3 hours, right? But Spoon89 had brought something up that I didn't think about. My local theater is contemplating doing a complete MCU marathon that will finish up with the first screening of Endgame. That's 45 hours and 16 minutes runtime plus Endgame for a total of 48 hours and 16 minutes of film. And he goes, "I can't imagine doing it myself." So yeah, theaters want to do these marathons, but could anyone honestly sit there for 48 hours?
There's no way.
Could? Yes. Should? No.
No.
Get bed sores after that.
How many people are going to do it? Granted, this is one of the few things I could imagine that there might be enough of a following to do that in maybe a few theaters, but I
imagine you'll see a handful of theaters across the country, probably in the major markets. I'd imagine New York, LA, Chicago, probably Philadelphia, maybe one theater per market will try this.
Yeah.
If you sell 10 tickets at what the cost is going to be, you're probably going to, one, get some publicity, two, make a couple bucks. Got to show something during the day.
Someplace where geeks can go and watch it, then walk 5 minutes to their apartment, take a nap, and then come back 5 minutes.
Well, no, that's what the Incredible Hulk is for. An Iron Man 2, you can nap during those.
This is right.
You get 2 hour naps here and there. There are ones that are I don't really need to watch that again.
Thor Dark World.
Thor Dark World is nappable. Yeah, there's good parts of it, but it's nappable.
Definitely.
The real Lego dad said that it was cool with him. The 3 hours.
That's funny. The fake Lego dad hated it.
And
Hero Week, tip your waitress.
Tommy Herrera. Oh, okay. He's super excited, and movie Geek and Proud. They said, "I love this. Seeing as we are not going to get the MCU movie for almost an entire year after this, I would sit through a 4-hour film if they had something to say. I can't wait." Wait a minute. There's an MCU movie coming out 2 months after.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Far From Home.
Yep.
Why does Spidey always get the backlash? God,
I don't know.
People always forgetting about him.
Poor Spidey. What are you going to do? So, moving on, we had talked about Will Smith playing the genie and our first look at him. And Rob Foster, again, repeat offender, said, "Smith's career has jumped the shark." What do you guys think of that comment?
I don't think so. I really don't think so yet. It's still a big budget movie, so it's not like if he started, you did get Shaq as a genie, and that was that was jumping the shark. This not quite, because it's still Disney. But
And in the alternate universe half of us lived in, we had a Sinbad genie movie that doesn't exist anymore.
yes, yeah, which we shan't speak of again.
We can't speak of it again. It's been erased.
Yeah,
It was the Avengers when they were time traveling to fix Thanos'.
I think it was Thanos when he snapped his fingers. The first thing he made sure was
If there is a God, please let that be a joke in one of these movies. That would make me so happy.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, this is the guy who went from, Independence Day and, what are some of the other big movies that he's been in?
Oh, dude, Men in Black.
Men in Black,
90s.
yeah.
Like, let's define, like, what, I've always been struggling with this, what Jerp the Shark actually means. Does it actually mean, like, you've hit your peak and you're going down? Or, like, with, like, the shark fin? Or does it literally mean it's like the Happy Days thing where Fonzie jumps over the shark and the whole thing becomes kind of postmodern?
it becomes kind of a farce, right?
Right. Like they always say that was the moment that defined when the quality of Happy Days went really downhill after that.
Like, I've heard both. I mean, quite frankly, Will Smith has made bad movies before this, like After Earth.
Yeah, I was going to mention After Earth.
But he can do it. I mean, let's be real. This is a Disney movie. He can make a lot of money. Like, it's going to make a lot of money. I mean, he can do whatever the hell he wants. He's stupid rich. Like,
and like other people, he might be able to just come right back. All he needs is one good script. It's just a matter of him accepting it, you know?
But he turned down The Matrix famously.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. This is going to be a bad. Like, he looks. What is he supposed to look like? He looks like the genie. Like, I don't.
No,
it's weird.
Like
it's weird. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know what else it's supposed to be.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have any issue with it. It's just, we'll have to see, you know. Of course, a lot of people said that Smith's career jumped the shark with Wild Wild West.
That's true. That was 20 years ago now. He did okay.
Oh my God. Thank you for making me feel old, JD.
No problem.
But yeah.
Really?
1999.
Yep.
Well, I mean, he's coming out with Bright 2, which would be shark jumping, I think. I mean, Bright was okay, I guess. But then there's Bad Boys 4. Bad Boys 4 and Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah, that I got nothing.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Just a quick aside here, again, from social media. So, again, a reminder, we are now proud members of the Pulse Podcast Network. And,
until they kick us out too.
Our buddies over at So Wizard had, sent out a tweet saying, follow and listen, subscribe to these pop culture podcasts, and, included us, and of course, Gorilla Brain Pod, Brothers Bins, and the, Midnight Kingdoms Night has, it's such a long name.
Night has become restless.
And because somebody had said that we were queens, so us and them had got into a Freddie Mercury off with gifts on Twitter, and it was a lot of fun. And I was doing this during my daughter's birthday party.
I'm sure that was appreciated.
But I have no regrets.
Very incentive of you, Daddy.
She's 25. Come on.
Fair enough.
But I just want to say thank you to those guys, because that was fun. A fun distraction for the evening.
I actually need to check out their podcast. I'm looking at this right there. I never heard of them until we just did this. This show sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone should be checking out those guys. Just go to pulsepodcastnetwork.com and go to the pop culture section. You'll see some really great podcasts. There's also some great sports podcasts out there, but I'm not a big sports ball guy other than football, so I don't, Anyway.
Go on.
I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't watch a lot of sports, but anyway. So moving on, of course, we now have our new feud with Joe Rogan that he doesn't know exists.
You ever make a joke and not expect it to go as far as it goes?
So OJC, Castle OJ on Twitter had said, it's fairly obvious that Joe Rogan is first and foremost an entertainer rather than a political commentator. He raises issues into the spotlight as a byproduct of his show rather than a direct activism, which is cool, but what does that have to do with him being a sissy?
Where you respond with, but is he a tough guy? Which is completely throwing gasoline on a fire that you made fun of me for doing just before this show started.
I know, exactly.
But I can tell, I'm going to pick on Mr. OJ. Because I know he doesn't listen to our show based on that response.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, that was more of like him giving a shout out to Joe Rogan than thing to our podcast.
I told you, he's got followers, man. I was worried I thought it could get worse if it got, people look like most people got it, but
And of course, he said he thought Alex could take him, which I responded with an Alex Jones gif of him wearing a tinfoil hat. And then El Teco, another great Twitter name, had responded with, "Ooh yeah, you're all in trouble." And it's a gif of Joe Rogan with kettlebells, which I'd never seen this before, but man, it's funny to watch.
Remember when he was a skinny guy on news radio?
Yeah.
Like, the UFC has changed him, and he never even fought.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he, I think it's, like, all seriousness, I think it's a Napoleon complex, because he is like a little guy. You know?
I don't know. In the MMA world, they have weight classes, so I mean, I think it matters, the size of a person matters a lot less, but I don't know.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on, this will be the last one, then we'll get to the news. We had talked about the Shazam, Zachary Levi, Captain Marvel thing last week, and Gateway Comics said that very different movies appealing to different audiences. Timmy, 10 years old, is very much looking forward to Shazam, while I prefer Captain Marvel. We won't know which is better till we see them both, which I think is pretty much the sentiment we said last week on the show.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which actually brings me to one of the things we could mention is that the Captain Marvel controversy about all of the political people going on to Rotten Tomatoes and downing the score has caused Rotten Tomatoes to actually kill that feature.
I wouldn't call them political so much as I would call them weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of politically driven. It was that incel type group.
I don't think everything has to be politics, but yeah.
No, I don't either. But you read some of the comics. It was definitely that group.
Well, I didn't read any of the comments, but again,
good on you, by the way.
Yeah. You're much happier. Trust me.
But again, as we talked about last week, I agree with that move. People shouldn't be allowed to comment on something they haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, as a web designer, that's a feature I would have thought of. But you think if you know the internet and you think 2 minutes after it goes live, you know what's going to happen.
Now, granted, I don't see an issue with a check mark that says, do you want to see this movie? Yes or no?
Which is what they have. There's no yes or no. It's just you click it if you want to see it.
Well,
right.
It's like Amazon does verified purchases on their reviews, so you can see if the person actually bought the book or not. Like they still let bad reviews up. There's something you can do about it, but at least it weighs them a little bit.
Well, people still get paid to do reviews too on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a way around.
No.
I know, but there's a way around any of this stuff. I mean, it's the internet. It's hard to manage.
Wait, JD, you're not going to pay me for the review for your book? What?
No, I can't afford that shit. Like, good Lord.
All right. So let's
pay me in donuts. I mean,
speaking of following up on stuff from last week,
we'll talk.
Our first news article this week
feels like it.
We had talked about what's her face?
Black Widow?
Black Widow being rated R. Kevin Feige has come out and said, nope, that is not the case. It will not be an R-rated movie, which...
You killjoy Kevin Feige.
But we said, how many times have we said that it wasn't going to happen?
I know, but,
as long as I keep Deadpool R, we're all good, man.
I mean, I agree. You don't want to limit, especially with a character that hasn't gone out solo yet, you don't want to limit your audience right away. But yeah, like, again, does that keep you from just exploring the darker sides of the character, or is it allow you to explore it but just keep it not graphic? You know?
Well, if you remember, Alita was PG-13, I think, and all they did was change the color of some of the blood and all that, and they had people's heads being ripped off and everything. So, considering this is the Marvel Universe, there's a lot of leeway that they could do some pretty graphic stuff without it technically coming under the MPAA, rated R heading.
PG-13 was created for a movie called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Dun, 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 dun,
they ripped the dude's heart out in that movie.
Yeah. Yep. Kaleba will rule the world.
Kalima Shakti Day. I had an Indian guy in high school translate that for me. Black Mother Give Me the Power is what that guy's saying over and over again.
Interesting.
I felt cool knowing that as in high school. So.
Yes, but one of the most openly racist movies ever made. Anyway.
In retrospect, you might be right.
I don't know any Indian people that eat eyeball soup. Just saying, just putting that out there.
However, monkey brains actually a delicacy.
You can send all your hate mail to John at superheroes.
Oh, they do that anyway.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think we're a couple years off from the solo Black Widow movie, but
yeah, best case scenario.
Yeah. But a movie that we're supposedly getting, is it next year? That is The Eternals. Marvel has put a casting call out for their first openly gay actor. The description of the casting call says a superhero looking type male, and preferably gay, basically is what it says. So what do you guys think about this? Like,
I got mixed feelings. I mean, technically they're actors. They should be able to play whether it is or not. But then there's this whole controversy of, whitewashing and all this other stuff where, actors of that, that type should play that type. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of torn. I don't necessarily like them hiring white actors to play typically Chinese or Japanese parts, as The Last Airbender or was it Ghost in the Shell? But on the other hand, they needed They needed Scarlett Johansson in order to get the box office for Ghost in the Shell. So, but I don't know. There's going to be controversy no matter what they do, because if they cast a gay actor to play a gay part, then they're going to get a lot of people saying, yeah, but these are actors. You want the best actor, not they're going to cry. What do they call it when you have to hire certain people just because of their type? It's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
affirmative action.
Yeah, affirmative action. Right. Kept thinking positive. I couldn't remember. But but the thing is that on the other hand, if they don't, then they'll get a hit for not casting a gay actor for a gay part. It's just there's no winning this one, I think.
John Wayne never should have played Genghis Khan.
Oh God, nobody's against it. Everybody believes that. That's like,
I don't even think when the movie came out, people believed he should have played Genghis Khan.
That's the point.
Even he thought that.
We certainly wasn't trying when he made it.
No.
Like, I don't know. Like, I get where you're coming from, and like, it's like when Jared Leto won an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. I thought he did a good job. He was good. And someone brought up a good point. Why couldn't they hire an actual gay guy to play him? Why does it always have to be? Why do people have to make a big deal of, oh my God, this guy tried so hard to pretend to be gay? And I'm like, and I heard that from a different argument. I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a good point. As opposed to just giving it to a person who actually isn't. I mean, like, I'm of two minds of the subject. I'm all for inclusion. If there's a good actor who can play the role who happens to be gay, and there's plenty of them out there, sure, why not? I don't know anything about the Eternals though, so I can't for all my Marvel knowledge, I got nothing.
Well, that's the thing too.
These characters.
They're not even saying which character it is that he's playing. So,
well, how many gay Eternals were there?
As far as I don't have no idea. Yeah, exactly. I never read the book.
Probably zero based on when Kirby was doing it, but at the same time, Kirby wasn't really known for love stories and stuff like that. So there's I think there's probably some leeway to take with those characters. I don't know. Like I said, I got nothing on this one. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's just like I said. I think no matter what happens, there's going to be a side that's going to be or is going to be quote unquote outraged about it.
Well, I mean,
outraged about everything.
That's the internet's job, is to be outraged. I mean,
right.
They cast Ruby Rose as Batwoman.
Yeah, she wasn't gay enough.
Exactly. She wasn't gay enough to play Batwoman. That was the outrage on the internet. And so it's
there was. People were saying that.
Ruby Rose is an awesome Batwoman, though. Come on.
But it's exactly people are going to find something to complain about. My thought is this, and I have no issue with them bringing a gay character in. And yes, I would say if they're bringing a gay character in, it's probably preferable that a gay actor plays that person. But when they make an announcement like this and they make a news article around it and so forth, and here we are talking about it, does it take away from what they're trying to do when you make that the defining characteristic of what you're trying to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that, and that's really just, I don't have an answer. That's a question I'm putting out in the ether. But I've always thought that, if you make it about the character being gay, then it's no longer just oh, that was a great superhero. It's oh, that was a great gay character. And it's well, that's not the point we were trying to make. If we want everyone to be treated equal, then we can't separate ourselves by characteristics anymore. So.
Yeah, but at the same time, you kind of, I get where you're coming from, and this is you don't want to say the wrong thing with these kind of things. I think that if you say, hey, this is a gay superhero, to not cast a gay guy to play him seems like you said, counterintuitive. So at this point, I think, what the hell? Why not? Let's get more representation in there.
Yeah, but I think I think what the real problem is, we're talking about this. I think the real problem is that when you're creating a character, right? You don't want their defining trait to be they're gay.
Well, it won't
right?
be. At no point I think has Marvel done a thing where that kind of a thing would be their only defining characteristic.
Right, but based on what Dave said, they're doing this presser and they're shopping it around, and we're hiring a gay actor for it. They're making that the trait
because they are a faceless, heartless corporate entity, and they love. But it's true. They want the positive. They want all the good stuff that goes with it. They want people to say, yes, that's a progressive company. Yes, Disney, Marvel are doing these wonderful things. When all they really want to do is exploit it, make a couple extra bucks, find somewhere else to go. That's what it really comes down to. So.
I think one of the issues I have too is because of generations of homosexual people being not necessarily just kept down, but made fun of in popular culture, because it was an accepted bigotry for so long.
True.
When they say, gay superhero, unfortunately my mind jumps to the ambiguously gay duo from Saturday Night Live cartoons, and it was just and that's, that's the problem. Those stigmas still exist.
Which is why I think you need, when you say that, because my mind didn't go there, but hearing you say that makes me go, you know what? They're onto something here. And it's gotta be a character who happens to be gay.
Right.
Who's still a superhero. Which I think, hearing this and seeing where the direction this conversation has gone, yeah, let's do that. Why not?
Right. Because, the internet is full of toxic fans.
You don't say.
Good segue. I know where you're going now. Keep it. Continue.
Recently, comic writer Donnie Cates began receiving death threats based on his current works in Venom.
I'll drink to that.
So, yeah, I mean, he made some changes to the character because no one ever changes anything in a comic book character.
Oh, God forbid you should do that.
And apparently some of the fans were PO'd and began sending him death threats. Which, again, toxic fandom exists. Let's not pretend it doesn't exist, and it's existed for a long time. What's her face? J.K. Rowling received death threats in regards to the final Harry Potter book when she was writing it, because everyone was convinced she was going to kill off Harry.
She got him too for making Dumbledore gay too.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say that was a big one.
So
did you like destroy something in solidarity with this, JD? Or
oh, I thought you dropped something, John.
No, I did. I dropped a plate on the floor in my basement, and I'm trying not to cut my feet. Sorry.
Well, don't cut your feet. That would be terrible.
Yes, it would.
And and you don't have the Venom symbiote to help you out.
Nice way to steer back into the skin.
Did it say what he was changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read the article. He has made it so the symbiote has kind of poisoned Eddie Brock's mind. The symbiote made him think he had cancer. Excuse me. It made him think that his brother. It made him think that his son was actually his brother because the symbiote was afraid Eddie was going to leave it. And people are not happy with this retcon of how the symbiote works.
That's nothing compared to some of the other stuff that the comics have done.
Well, apparently this is where it gets weird, is there are Eddie Brock Venom shippers.
What? Oh, God, no. Oh.
And
man.
We've all talked about the practice of shipping exists where a certain subsect of fandom tries to see a romantic relationship where oftentimes
but
exist.
You're at the deep end with the hentai guys for that one. Come on.
We're not there. We're not all the way over there.
We're somewhere in the middle.
We're a little bit off of that. We're somewhere between this and the Ray Finn people. We're in between. There's a big chasm. But yes, there's a certain subsect of fandom who sees a romantic relationship between the parasitic and the parasitic organism that's affected Eddie Brock for near 30 years and Eddie Brock.
Yeah, but except that sounds like a truly healthy relationship these days of lying to your partner. I mean, come on. That's like...
That's true. When you put it like that, it actually strengthens the shipping argument rather than weakens it. What I find interesting about this, Donny Cates is very active on his social media, and I don't know him, but I like reading his stuff, his tweets in particular, because he is not afraid to tell fans they're being stupid, and has no fear of some pushback against people. This is weird, and to threaten to murder a comic creator over something like this is strange.
Right. And it goes back to something that I think we have said multiple times on this show. Wait long enough and it'll change back again. And, so it's not worth getting upset over. If enough
maybe
people,
not though.
Go ahead.
No, I was thinking we always say that things always continuity shifts always go back. I don't think anyone's putting Bucky back as being dead. I don't think anyone's going to take away. If it works, it tends to stay.
And it makes. I mean, I don't know about the brother being the son thing. I don't know how that fits with the rest of continuity. I'd have to think about it. But I can go with he made him think he had cancer so that he would be more dependent on him. That.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes sense. I think it works.
That totally works. I have no issue with that. Yeah.
I think that strengthens the character of Venom and Eddie Brock's toxic, pardon the pun, relationship with the character.
Right.
I think that whole thing is great, but fans are going to be fans.
Yeah.
Phonetics.
And our last little bit of Marvel news, it's not the end of the world, but it might be to some. Mike Deodato said that he will be leaving Marvel after his work on the Savage Avengers book. And that he was going to go concentrate on some creator-owned books. So I find that interesting. He announced this on his social media. Because some people were upset by this, and it's just like, I get it. I mean, I know lots of writers and artists that have worked for the big two, and you get to do it, and it's a dream, but then it's like, but now I want to work on my own stuff, you know?
He's been doing it for 24 years.
Exactly.
And he's such a great artist. Like, I look back on a lot of my favorite Marvel books over the last 10, 15 years. Mike Deodato drew a bunch of them. Yeah,
the Savage Avengers stuff is amazing looking.
He did a run on the Dark Avengers about a decade ago.
Yes.
When the Thunderbolts became the Avengers. Yep. Him and Bendis. It was so good. And his style, he's so great at using shadows. Like, his stuff almost comes off noir-y with the shadows and the color. Man, it was so perfect and so fitting for that story. That's one of my favorite runs. Like, I always hold that stuff in a special place for me. Like, he's great. But at the same time, when you have a lot of stock accrued as a creator, you can make a great living doing creator-owned stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, for the rest of us that are just starting out, it's super hard to make money. But for guys like him and your Matt Fractions of the world, and your Rick Remender examples, like, that can be life-changing money if you hit on something like, look at what Umbrella Academy is doing. Look at what Deadly Class is doing. Like, this is a chance for those guys to make generational money, and I good for him.
I mean, Jim Lee tomorrow could announce he's leaving DC because he wants to do a book completely on his own, and it would sell, 1,000 copies. I won't say millions of copies for comics anymore, but
But Jim Lee is in the position that he's in as the publisher of DC Comics because he went on his own. Because he focused on his creator-owned work. Like, that changed his life. He could have just been another dude drawing comics who, is widely loved. But I mean, like, those Image guys struck out on their own and focused on creator-owned comics. And it changed the business, and it certainly changed their lives. So good for him, man. I want to see what he's got.
Yeah, I wish him luck. And Mike, if you want to come on the show and talk about it, if you're listening to this, let us know, and we'll gladly have you on to talk about your book.
I'll gush over you for an hour.
So we talked a little bit about DC there. Let's go across the aisle. Okay, so I included this because, guys, other podcasts suck. Other than So Wizard and all the other ones I mentioned on the Pulse Podcast Network. But I was listening to a podcast today, right? And they were talking about their news for their week, and that rumor is all the DC shows, well, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow were all being canceled after Crisis. And I'm like, that sounds weird to me. Like, I think I would have read something about that at this point,
Are they all going to be put under, like, CW streaming app or something? I mean...
So back in January, it was confirmed that all the shows were renewed. Like, all of the Black Arrow, Arrow, Black Lightning, like, all the shows got renewed, plus some other, shows. And then these rumors started popping up in February about them being canceled. So have you guys heard anything? And do you think there's any strength to this? Or is it, since the big crossover next year is Crisis on Infinite Earths, are they going to do something odd with the shows after the Crisis? Yeah.
Well, just define odd, because at one point, because of because of Flash changing time, they changed Diggle's kid from a girl to a boy. So
Well, like one of the things that they've talked about,
they could do a lot with this stuff.
I mean, one of the things they've said from almost day one of The Flash is they've been building up to Crisis, and just like in the comics, the Flash disappears during Crisis on Infinite Earths. The other thing that happens in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it's kind of one of the rumors that's alluded to, is Supergirl dies. So one of the rumors says that they were going to cancel Supergirl and Superman was going to take over. So could they make it look like Supergirl dies in Crisis, and for a couple episodes have their Superman take over as the main character on the show?
You mean for a time before she comes back? I mean, because I don't know, they could do a lot. I mean, that is something. I mean, it's reality bending, so they can basically do anything they want. They could bring Supergirl and Arrow universe together and put them both on the same Earth. They could and have all of the CW shows happening in the same continuity. Then,
well, that was the whole thing with Crisis on Infinite Earths was. And anyone who remembers the story, the idea was that they had all these different continuity points in DC, and they wanted to try to bring it all together to be one Earth. So they brought all of their universes together.
Right. And personally, I'd like to see Black Lightning join the crew. I mean, technically, they've hinted a couple of times that Black Lightning is probably on Earth 2, or I forget what Earth that Supergirl's on now, but that he's on Supergirl's Earth. But again, there's no way they're going to cancel all of them. There's just no way. It's like that's half their lineup. They've got so many of those shows now. There's no way they could do that.
Possibly. The only other thing was they said in this other show, I gotta stop listening to these shows, man. That they can't see it because Supergirl is such a popular show. I did look at that, and their ratings have consistently gone down since the show originally premiered.
Well, here's the thing, though. You can't look at, when you're talking about ratings, it's relative to the rest of the network. What is the rest of the network drawing?
Well, no. I'm talking about, like, the premiere on CBS or whatever it was.
Well, they're always going to. A CBS premiere, no matter what it is always going to draw more than what the CW draws.
Right. I'm saying, like, it was like 16 million, blah, blah, and they slowly dropped throughout that season. When they started on the CW, I believe it was, they had like an audience of 6 million, and they've only been pulling around 1 million, per episode this current season.
But what is a replace? Like, it's like this, I know you know I'm a sports guy, but in baseball, there's concept of wins above replacement. Like, are you as good as a replace? Like, how many more wins does your team get because you're playing as opposed to a replacement player?
Yeah.
So, and it's probably the most important statistic in all of modern baseball is what's your WAR? What's your wins above replacement? So does the CW get more views, more ratings points, more shares if Supergirl stays on there or if some X show that they just bring out stays on there? And that's what it is. Like, TV networks are trying to figure out what the show above replacement constantly is.
Right.
And right now they've got a lot going with these things. And these rumors, like rumor sites and rumor podcasts, no one knows jack shit. Like, they don't
it's
even know
too early for them to, it's too early for them to even have, like, credible rumors at this point.
Especially like, they might cancel the show. That means I don't like the show. I'm not happy with the direction that it's in. Because I feel this way, there's a chance it could get canceled. But, like, I was wondering why you attached, I was confused. I didn't look at the dates. I was wondering why you attached an article that said all these shows have been renewed. And then these from Deadline Hollywood, from Deadline.com, a real website.
Exactly.
And then things from a joke-ass website that I've never heard of. That's I don't know. These shows might be canceled. Blah, blah, blah.
I guess my point is, other podcasts do a little bit of research before you bring a news article onto your show.
Dave, you got to stop listening to these podcasts. They poison your mind.
One of the articles you sent has, they're talking about canceling just Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, right?
Right, and then they talked about possibly killing off Supergirl and replacing her with Superman in the other article.
See, it's possible that they could cancel Arrow because Stephen Amell is I mean, it must be getting tiring with the stunts and everything, and he's been doing this for 7 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it might get slightly redundant with Arrow and Batgirl.
That show's going to be on until Stephen Amell decides it's time for it to be off.
Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Oh, and the other thing is too, like, they also said, like, oh, they're going to get canceled after Crisis. I'm like, you don't have shows on for 3 months and then cancel them.
Like, and that's just people like, oh, they did it in the comics. Now, that being said, though, I could see them doing the Supergirl thing with Superman for like 5 episodes or something like that.
Exactly.
Or even like 2. Like Flash, if Wally was a bigger part of the show, maybe. But I think that they are playing upon our preconceived notions of what these events were.
Right.
You know? And because they never follow word for word what the stories were. And as all we remember from the Crisis, it just made things more confusing in the long run.
This is true. I have a question. What is the CEO's of Warner Brothers name?
Ken Sugihara.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, there was no way I was going to pronounce that last name. So he has come out and said that going forward, Warner Brothers is embracing a more disconnected DCEU. They're less worried about, doing Avengers movies and connecting them all together, and just worrying about good standalone movies.
So not disconnected, just not connected. I mean, just, completely not connected.
Yeah, I mean...
We've talked about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it explains why they've got movies that are coming out that obviously feel like they have no connection whatsoever to what came before it, which is fine. I just... Do you think that's going to work for them?
Yes.
Yes?
100%.
As long as they're good movies, right?
As long as they're good movies, but that's what I've said. I've made this argument before, I'll make it again. DC was never meant to be a connected universe. Going back to the beginning, Batman and Superman were never supposed to exist in the same world. True. And DC is a hodgepodge, like National Comics bought American Comics, which then later absorbed Fawcett and later absorbed Charlton.
Right.
I mean, like, the DC universe, that's why we had all those different Earths. It's because they were never supposed to be together. And the whole DC works better. What makes DC works is the archetypes of characters, right? They're about the myth behind the character more than the character themselves. That's why the Elseworld stuff works so great in DC. Because you take the archetype and you can spin off and do a story, right? Marvel was always meant to be from Fantastic Four #1 to be Stan Lee's idea of this whole world of interconnected superheroes. And he was working on it from the time he brings Submariner in issue 3 of the Fantastic Four via retcon. And, like, this is what the Marvel Universe is. So it makes perfect sense that the films would work better in the way they were always meant to be done. Because it doesn't work. Like, the DC trying to make the Justice League work, it doesn't work. Like, Aquaman and Batman, they're 2 different types of characters. And they don't gel well together in comics, let alone in a movie. Yet, the Submariner and Captain America work just fine together. Because that's how they were designed.
But what about Super Friends?
I stand by what I said.
I agree. I mean, there are a lot of arguments where in a world where Superman exists, why do you need a Batman? But my question is, or my statement to this is, okay, but Joker doesn't work without Batman.
Yeah.
But
the Joker is a character that's created for Batman.
Right.
That's the differences. Dr. Doom can work with any Marvel superhero.
Yes.
The Joker, Emperor Joker's a cool Superman story, worked one time. And it's still about Batman at the end of the day. Like Superman basically becomes Batman in that story. Like the DC characters work so much better, like on their own. Like the Justice League stuff is cool in comics, but it's it doesn't work like Avengers. And when when they try to make Justice League like Avengers, it doesn't work as well. You know, like when it's revolving around like this, the more soapy nature, it doesn't click because the characters are they don't work like that. Whereas in Marvel, it's perfect. It's different. It's totally different. It should be.
Right. And we've talked about this many times on the show. Where it's DC's characters were gods among men, where Marvel's characters are ordinary people who all of a sudden get the powers and have to deal with it.
They're monsters.
You say all of that though, but Bruce Timm did a really good job in getting all those personalities to gel together in kind of, the same Marvel fashion during his animated series.
Counterpoint, he makes the heroes work together. They're always in their superhero costumes. The Avengers oftentimes walk around with their masks off. They're the people. The gods relate to each other. Just like they are. They're the gods of Olympus on the Watchtower. Whereas the Avengers are, they're hanging out in Tony Stark's place, having fun or getting pissed off at each other. It's totally different.
Oh my God, that is so true. I mean, especially because this is true in the comics, have been done over and over again, and the Justice League cartoon and whatnot. Like, Batman always has his mask on, right? Like, even though Superman can see through it with his X-ray vision, he's still trying to hide his identity from everyone.
Because he's Batman.
Right.
Like, that's what he is. Like, there's that whole argument that Bruce is the mask and Batman is the real face. And we can get into those whole things. But when Batman is around superheroes, he's Batman. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason you want, you can attach whatever psychological reason you want to it. But he's Batman. When Cap gets around the Avengers, it's Steve and Tony.
Yes. So true.
It's just different. The relationships are different.
Cool. That is an excellent point, sir.
Thank you.
I can see the argument to you.
Wow. I win.
Don't get used to it.
Savor and flavor.
Last thing, before we talk about your idea. Not a big surprise, just because, they already kind of said James Gunn was going to do his own thing, with Suicide Squad. But, it has been officially confirmed that Will Smith will not be returning for Suicide Squad 2. So, what do you guys think? And do you think they should recast Deadshot or just not use Deadshot at all?
The rumor I saw is that they're trying to get Don Cheadle, which I don't know if his Marvel contract will allow it. And I also think it's kind of weird that whenever, Don Cheadle is just the, we'll bring in the backup black guy, it seems like. But that seems like the way that's what they did with War Machine. Like, it doesn't feel right to me that they would do that. Like,
but he is War Machine,
he is War Machine, but Terrence Howard was first. Yeah. And they recast Terrence Howard. It just seems like that just seems like an empty, shallow Hollywood executive thing. Oh, let's get Don Cheadle. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be stupid to do that. Will Smith always felt too big to be Deadshot to me. Like, I thought that the presence of Will Smith really overshadows everyone else in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because he could act.
Yeah,
he was the best thing in that, really.
I thought Margot Robbie was the best thing in that, and I didn't like that movie.
The two of them, I'll give you that. But between the two of them, everybody else was just like background characters.
You're not wrong. I think one of the issues I have with that movie is that I felt like I was watching Will Smith. Like, it's that thing of casting a star. Like, at no point did I ever think of him as Deadshot. It felt like Will Smith being Deadshot to me. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing with going back to George Clooney as Batman. Like, that was George Clooney pretending to be Batman, and the other one was always, I can't think of the actor's name. Rogue One, the old soldier who has like the breathing thing.
Oh gosh, Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Is Forrest Whitaker. It's like he's one of those guys, as soon as he comes on the screen, my mind goes, oh, it's Forrest Whitaker, not, oh, it's the character he's playing.
I agree.
You're saying what you're saying about Will Smith being Will Smith playing something else. You could write a story about Deadshot finding a monkey's paw, making a wish, and becoming the genie in Aladdin, and it would make sense because he's still playing himself in both of those.
Completely derailed from here. I heard that same argument I grew up with the Batman '89, but I get the argument now in retrospect, is that Jack Nicholson was too big to play the Joker. Because you look at it, and it's Jack Nicholson wearing face paint, not the Joker.
Right. And it's funny because I've heard people argue that he's the closest to the Joker from the comics, and it's like, no, he's not. What comics did you read?
No, he's the furthest. Well, no, before Leto.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like, now, granted, my favorite stories are like, The Killing Joke, Dark Knight Returns, Long Halloween, but I always felt, Ledger got closest to the Joker from the comics than anyone else did.
Agreed. And his was different too. But yeah, no, it always felt like, I guess it's like the old Hollywood way was you do a star vehicle. Like the Arnold thing, Arnold is Arnold in every movie he's in. His comedies, you got the comedy Arnold and you have action Arnold. And like,
he's not a Duma.
It's built around that. And we seem to have kind of gone away from that a little bit where stars don't carry movies anymore. Mm-hmm. And like, it is more properties that carry the film. So it just seems like a throwback to that. Like Will Smith is a star from a bygone era where you put Will Smith in movie. It's like, well, that's Will Smith doing this. I think that's part of my problem with Bird Box too, is it's Sandra Bullock doing this.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we're going to end this week talking about the idea that JD has, which it comes from our love of sports ball.
Let me preface this. I don't like basketball. I'm a wrestling guy, so I'm programmed. I have that programmed in me. There's a rivalry that basketball people aren't aware of. But I do love tournaments. And I like that for wrestling. I was a college wrestler. March is also wrestling tournament time. It's the NCAA wrestling tournament at the same time as the NCAA March Madness. And everybody around America is going to be filling out their March Madness brackets. Right? So I had this idea today. And I will propose this to you. I told Dave I'd workshop this, and I was talking to my wife about this, and I have this idea. We have a cool thing where we talk about all kinds of nerd culture. So my idea is to crown a nerd culture championship, a superhero speak championship. And the way we would do this is we would have a tournament. My idea would basically we have like regionals, because in the NCAA tournament, they all have these regionals. So we would have, but our regionals would reflect like a different era of fandom. So we have like a comics bracket, and we could have an anime bracket, and then you have a movie bracket and like a TV show bracket. And it's just my idea would be I would do one, like say I would do comics, John could do anime, Dave, you watch a lot more TV than I do, so you could do that, and you would just like rank them. Your top 16 of what you're digging right now. Like, what are you watching that you like? I'll take, what am I reading that? I'm like, John knows more about anime than any human being I've ever met in my entire life. 16 animes. And then what you do is we would rank them, right? We would rank them. Like, we'd have the matchups, like 1 versus 16. I could show you guys how to do that later. And then we put them on Twitter, like the matchups.
Right.
And then the people because we get a lot of traction on Twitter, and this gives us something to actually get into a little bit when we do the social media thing, is people vote. And we go through it like a tournament. And then it would take a little while to get there, so it would take most of March, maybe even into a little bit of April. And then we'd have our final four, which would be like our comics champion versus our TV champion versus our film champion versus our anime champion. And they vote them off till we get to that final four. And then we crown our ultimate nerd title or comic title, however you want to. I need to brand it. Let me think. I'll come up with something. But we would crown our championship. That is my proposal.
We can call it Nerd Madness
I love it. That's awesome.
And yeah, no, I love the idea. So here's what I propose we do. John, if you have any objections or any other ideas, shoot them out.
I have objections, but not to this.
So we will get together our lists, but you, fine listener, if you have any suggestions, and can get them out to us before Sunday, because we usually record on Monday, tweet them at us with hashtag Nerd Madness. And next episode, we will each introduce our 16 picks.
Our bracketology episode.
One question I have for you, JD.
Yeah.
Does it only stuff from this year, or can it be from any period in nerddom?
Shit, I'm making this up as we go along, so I don't think it matters. Let's talk about that, because then, like, if this works, we could always go back to it. You know? So, what do you guys think? Like, because 16 is a big number.
Yeah, I'm going to say, let's try to stick to things that came out within the past year, and if we have to pull in older stuff to get 16, then that's fine.
So let's go with let's say a 2-year limit, or 2.5, something like that, because we don't want to go back to, like, because if I'm doing, like, comics, like, it shouldn't be fair that I pull The Dark Knight Returns.
Well, that would win. So, I mean...
That's what I'm saying. So it has to be something within a specific time frame.
Awesome. Works for me. John?
I gotta think about it, but okay.
I mean, we know Dragon Ball Z Broly's gonna go on there.
Do you know, you watch so much anime, I think you could easily come up with something like that. And then just, like I said, we'll rank them 1 through 16 and let the good folks in Twitter land come up with it.
So basically going for the best anime.
Yeah.
Yes. But at the end, the best anime will go up against,
the best in comics versus the best, and the best in film and the best in TV.
Oh, then you're talking like Cowboy Bebop or something. That's why we got
to put a time frame. That's why Dave brought a good point, is we have to put, like, some parameters on it. It's got to be within X period.
Well, anime's only been around for not quite as long as everything else, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it all has to be, we have to all agree to what the parameters are. Is, like Dave said, a year. But I think we might have to open it up a little bit more. So, like, anything anime in the best 2 years. And if you're struggling to get to 2 years, we can open it up a little bit. But like I said, you shouldn't be able to pull Akira out.
Right.
Actually, Akira wouldn't be in the running.
Okay, I pulled the first one out that I could think of. Because, I know nothing of anime.
So yeah, there you go. So next week we will introduce who's in our brackets. That'll probably take up a good part of the show next week. But yeah, any suggestions? Tweet them at us with hashtag Nerd Madness. If you have, if you don't want to tweet it at us, you can email any of us. It's Dave at superheroespeak.com, or John at superheroespeak.com, or JD at superheroespeak.com, or you can email all three of us at once with hosts at superheroespeak.com.
And let's hear from you guys. Like, what are you into? Yes. Like I said, I think the categories, and I'll come up with some cool regional titles from it. I'll think of something. But I mean, like let's focus this year on film, comics, TV, anime. These are our 4 categories for this year.
Oh yeah, and that should be easy.
Well, it's our first time. I don't want to come up with something too hard.
Yeah, I mean, well, TV I can easily come up with 16, no problem. We talked about this. Movies, I think we can probably pull out 16 movies.
Well, I think that's part of the fun, is you put together one, I put together one.
Yeah.
John puts together, then together we could come up with, like, the movie one.
Yes.
Right, because we'll each have, like, an area of expertise, and then we can come in and put together, like, the movie one, and then we just let it go, like, let Battle Royale style.
Can you hear this, folks? JD's actually excited about something for the podcast.
So I had an idea. JD always gets excited about his own ideas.
So please participate. We want to hear from you guys.
You guys have it easy. I have to figure out what genre first of anime,
Dude,
like shonen, isekai, shoujo. I mean,
any of it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
exactly.
Just pick 16 that you like. Because it doesn't matter what you like. There'll be upsets. There's going to be people that vote for things that we don't get. Or we'll be like, how the hell did this beat that? Just like in the NCAA tournament. Every year, a 12 seed beats a 5 seed.
I'm just going to pick the ones with the best lollies in.
I don't even know what that would be.
But Anime fans are screaming right now. Trust me, because once you get into a fight about best girl, it's all over.
But that's why it's going to be cool. It's because there's all kinds of different stuff, and then we can get people really pissed off at us at the very end.
All right.
Hold on. This message right now is specifically for Joey DiCarlo, host of the So Wizard podcast. Please do not tweet at us a GIF or a clip of somebody saying anime belongs in the trash, because you play that all the time on your podcast and people actually like anime.
It's going to happen.
And there's some really, let's face it, there is some really good anime out there that counts as real art. Come on.
But yeah, so here's your chance to educate a Philistine like myself who knows nothing. And like, I think at the end of the day is we can all share something that we love from what we really dig with people that may not understand it. If one person picks up a book that I recommend, or a show that John recommends, or, some anime show or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool. Like, we're spreading the culture that we love. Like, I love this. Like, of course I love it. It's mine. But like, but I'm excited about it.
I just want to spread Raftalia pout faces, but okay, sure.
What are you talking about today?
Hey, I'm heavily into anime, trust me.
Dude, I feel like I'm on a foreign language podcast.
All right, before John starts saying curse words in a foreign language we don't understand, I think we should put a pin in it. All right, so that is the plan. You guys have all heard it. And we were looking forward to hearing from you. So that is my recommendation for our audience for this week, is give us your suggestions. Do you guys have anything you want to add? Anything before we sign off?
I talked enough.
You talked enough.
Yeah. Well, to my anime bros out there, none of this was a JoJo's reference.
I give up.
Exactly. I'm done. All right, boys and girls. On that note, as always, thanks for listening, and don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.